So my journey has changed in the way that I saw myself going. I thought I would be living overseas, but I definitely didn't think I would be living in Nepal. When the opportunity came up to move to Nepal, God closed many doors to go overseas, and so we continued to pursue the Nepal option, and doors continued to open, and there were many things that had to happen for us to get here. So we really saw that as God leading us here and giving us the opportunity to live abroad, as it has been something we had kind of been wanting to do for a long time. So when we moved here, I knew that it would be hard because we'd talked to too many people, and we know that Nepal is a challenging country to live in. But it was challenging, much, much more challenging than any way I thought it would be. And I kind of think that the way I thought it would be hard, it was a different hard. When we first moved here, there was a border blockade. We moved right after the earthquake that happened in Nepal. And so we weren't receiving supplies. I didn't know if cooking was difficult. We couldn't get around, which also really inhibited me from making friends because there was no gas to be able to go anywhere. And so I didn't have a very good friend set at the beginning, as well as just the stress of that was much harder than I thought. And I also got really sick, and they couldn't figure out what was going on with me for about 6 months, and I think it led to some depression. And I think that because I thought it would be hard culturally, and yet it was all more related to me of why it was hard. And I think that was a space where God was trying to show me He is God no matter what space I'm in, and no matter what space He takes us to. And He wants us to trust and rely and grow and know Him in those places. So during this time, especially when I was sick, I think you get to this point where you think, God, are you there? Are you seeing me? Maybe you feel small or unseen, that God doesn't care, that He hasn't, in my case, He'd taken me 7,000 miles away from home in a country and a culture I didn't know. And I felt like I needed to hear Him saying, I see you, and I know you, and I know what you're going through. And so some really important signposts, I think, that God gave me, I continually just craved God's Word, and every day I would look to it for sustenance, for just to fight for my relationship with God and know that He was there. And specifically one day, and it was a day, it was quite dreary outside. I remember walking out to our local medicine shop, and I was really discouraged because it had been a really long time, and I'd been very sick and couldn't figure out why. And as I was walking out, I finally had gotten a diagnosis, and as I was walking home and I was just crying, a friend pulled up and she said, Kristi, what are you doing? You're crying. She told me, today I just felt like God was telling me to come to your house, and that you needed me to be here for you today. And I started crying even more and just thought, God, what a sweet way that you're showing me you care for me. And she came over and she had brought some food for me. And she also had told me she could take my kids for the next 2 days so that I could finally try to get back to health. And it was kind of a turning point for me. And at the same time, I had a sweet friend, and she also came over every day and would just pray for me and pray over me. And it was really sweet to know that God gave me people when I didn't have any strength of my own to help me carry me through that time. And I think one more thing I just would love to share is I think God brings us all to different spaces and different places, and He gives us all different challenges. And I know there's many of you there that are doing things that seem difficult and so hard that I think, oh my goodness, I could never do that. And in all the spaces that God's gifted us in and challenged us in, I would just pray that you guys would continue to push forth and fight for that time and space to be with God, and see Him do things in your life that you don't think He could do or that seem challenging for him to do, because he is good, and we know that he alone can make all these things come to fruition. So have a great time, enjoy, and wish I could be enjoying some clean, fresh mountain air with you guys up there.